they've heard over the last day plus years.
Thank you, Michael. First, I want to congratulate you, Michael, and Iretta, and your staff. Thank them for the extraordinary job. Deb Langer, has she been recognized yet for helping them put all this together?
Yeah.
So thank you all, and congratulations on this. When I saw the program, the initial draft of this program, I called Michael and I just congratulated him because I knew that he had been working on this idea for about 8 years, at least 8 years, maybe even before that. But he had 8 years ago told me about this idea of his and his desire, and it's just so impressive to see you bring it to fruition in this form. I'm delighted to have a little part in it. I'm going to make just very few comments in terms of observations from my own little kind of corner of the world before I introduce the panelists, give them a few more minutes to develop their presentations. The first one is, this is, I've heard a lot of discussion about the stigma of the disease, and that here we have this disease that's not oftentimes recognized by society in the same way that other diseases, other chronic diseases like asthma and hypertension are recognized. And part of it, I think, is because, and part of it, I think, has to do with the fact that it is one of the only, probably the only disease where the dominant approach for its treatment is prayer and fellowship and counseling. You will be hard-pressed to think of any other disease for which that is the dominant modality. I was listening to Lisa talk about her sense of being discriminated against because she's on medication-assisted therapy. And my heart went out not just to her, but to so many people who have either dropped out of medication-assisted therapy treatment or recovery because of that kind of discrimination. It's interesting. I have attended AA meetings and NA meetings for about 18 years, and I saw an evolution over that time period where people began to talk, mention in meetings just in passing, that they used antidepressants. And that the use of antidepressants has made tremendous headway in terms of acceptance. It's okay to have a co-occurring mental illness. It is surprising, though, that the idea that we use the term, you don't hear the term medication-assisted treatment of asthma or medication-assisted treatment of cancer. We think of these as legitimate diseases because, I don't know, I guess we always thought of them as diseases, but I would submit to you that one of the reasons why our disease that we care about has not been given the same level of acceptance, appreciation, is because there ain't, aside from opiates and tobacco, there really aren't any medications that have any real role. Certainly for alcohol dependence, the biggest of our disease states, except for tobacco. It really is that there aren't any medications that are a big part of alcoholism treatment yet today. Oh, by the way, I work for a company that makes one of those medications. It's not a big part of how you're treating alcoholism or alcoholism is treated yet today. And one of the things that's very exciting is that in the next 3 to 5 years, we will begin, 3 to 5 years, you'll begin to see big pharma. I work for a tiny pharma. Actually, we're just a biotech company with 600 employees. So we ain't pharma. But there will be big pharma entering into alcoholism treatment and all these other addiction treatments, or addictive diseases. Big pharma has run into a problem. And the problem that big pharma has run into is it can't come up with new discoveries. Finding new medications that will pass the test of the FDA is very, very hard. What they're doing is they're recycling existing medications and testing them out on addictions. Some of them will prove to be effective. Our little company is developing, is testing many new molecules. We bought a library of molecules that have the potential to work on the reward systems of the brain. We bought about 500,000 of them. We're putting them through tests. So we are entering into a very interesting period in the history of recovery, and how, I think the important thing for me is the positioning of what we've done, what I love, which is counseling and carrying the message of recovery. Thinking of these new medications as they're called, they're pharmacotherapies. They're co-therapies. They're to support what you're doing. They're not, none of them are effective in the absence of the therapies, and all of them will do much better with these therapies. Now, that's my little 2 cents. I appreciate the time that we have. I want to introduce our other speakers, and I want to just begin first by turning this over to Dr. Laudet. Dr. Laudet has been writing and thinking about this issue of recovery and the transformational model that our field is going through. And I'm going to turn the podium over to Dr. Laudet, and please help me welcome her.